Hi there. Welcome to this Sunday sermon. I do apologize they're up a little bit late, but I got them up there. I'm putting them up there today for you. This is K through 4. Last week I've been asking you how you're doing with your parents and making sure that everything is going good at home, making sure you're helping out around the house and doing good in school. Hopefully you are. We've been reading out of the Bible and out of Genesis, and that's where we stopped off of. Now we're on the creation of man and woman and how God made man and woman, because this is one of the most important thing that God ever did. He created the image of a man in His image, and then this is a really powerful story that I'm going to read out to you, and I just want to let you know that this is in Genesis, and it's under the creation of man and woman. Is on verse 2-4. And it says, this is the account of heaven and earth, where they created at the time when the Lord God made earth and heaven. Excuse me. Verse 5. Wild bushes and plants were not on the earth yet, because the Lord God hadn't sent rain on the earth. Also, there was no one to farm the land. Instead, underground water would come up from the earth and water the entire surface of the ground. Verse 7. Then the Lord God formed that man from the dust of the earth and blew the breath of life into his nostrils. The man became a living being. So God went down there and actually blew life into his nostrils, and man became alive. 8. The Lord God planted a garden in Eden in the east. That's where he put the man where he had formed. 9. The Lord God made all the trees grow out of the ground. These trees were nice to look at, and their fruit was good to eat. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil grew in the middle of the garden. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I got an itchy throat. Verse 10. A river flowed from Eden to the water the garden. Outside the garden, it divided into 4 rivers. The name of the first river was Pison. This is that winds throughout Havana, where there is gold. 12. The gold of the land is pure. Beryllium and onyx are also found there. 13. The name of the second river is Gihon. This is one that winds throughout Sudden. 14. The name of the third river is Tigris. This is one of the that flows east of Assyria. The fourth river is Euphrates. Verse 15. Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to farm the land and take care of it. 16. The Lord God commanded the man, he said, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must never eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because when you eat from it, you will certainly die. Listen to that. God was meaning serious about that tree. He was like, no, I'm giving you everything else, but I don't want you to touch that tree of good and evil, because it gave, if you eat from it, he said, you will certainly die. And God meant that when he told man that. Verse 18, then the Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is right for him. 19, the Lord God has formed all the wild animals and all the birds out of the ground. Then he brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Whatever the man called each creature became its name. 20. So the man named all domestic animals, all the birds, and all the wild animals. But the man found no helper who was right for his, for his side. For him. 21. So the Lord God caused him to fall into a deep, deep sleep. While the man was sleeping, the Lord God took out one of the man's rib and closed up the flesh at the place. 22. Then the Lord God formed a woman from the rib that he had taken from the man. He brought her to the man. 23. The man said, these now bone of bones and flesh of my flesh, she will be called woman, because she was taken from man. 24. That is why man will leave his father and mother and will be united with his wife, and they will become one flesh. The man and his wife were both naked, but they weren't ashamed of it. We're going to leave off there. So just think of that. God made all the fish, the animals, and he was still lonely until the Lord God took, from his rib and made woman. So now this is man's companion. So remember what God said in this story. God said in this story not to eat from the tree. And he meant what he said. Or he said you will surely die from it. So keep that in mind. That's what God said. Do not eat from the tree of good and evil. So, he instructed that. So just keep that in mind so far, because we're still in Genesis and we're still reading in, chapter 2, and then we're going on. The next one we're going to be reading about is the first sin and the first promise that man and woman did. So, but just keep in mind, when you make promises to your mom and dad, always keep the promises and never go back on your promises, because it will catch up from you. And yes, once again, my morning coffee. But when you make a promise to your mom and dad, remember, one of your commandments is honor thy mother and father. If you honor just that one commandment, you'll have a long, prosperous life. God promised you that. When God makes a promise, he always go through with it. So you got to keep that in mind when you make a promise, that you always go through with it. Because if you don't make that if you don't go through with the promise, your mom and dad won't trust you. Even when you have friends out there in school and you make a promise, don't ever turn your back on that promise, because if you keep turning your back and lying to your friends, mom, dad, and family, you're going to find out you're not going to have any friends, for one. And for two, your mom and dad's going to be very upset if you do something like that. So I just wanted to bring that up to your attention. Thank you for this Sunday sermon. I appreciate you guys visiting me out there. This is for your mom and dad out there. Just keep in mind, if you guys can donate, that's great. It keeps the website going, the phone, whatever you can donate. If you can't, God knows why. You can donate some of your time. That's even donating and tying to God. But every little bit of donation does help. And the last donation we got, I really appreciate who donated that to us. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because every little bit counts. Because we got to keep this going and get the word of Jesus out there and God out there to our kids, and everybody, and spread the word. And the internet is the best place to spread the word. So, all right, you keep in mind out there. I love you guys out there. Thank you for this Sunday sermon. And what do I say at the end of every video? I'm probably not even going to have to say it. You guys can say it. What would Jesus do? If you think like that, you won't go wrong. God bless you guys.